Broncos country, what is poppin'? How y'all doing, man? I missed you guys. Hope you guys had a great extended weekend. Hopefully, after the 4th. Happy 4th of July to all you guys again. It is your boy here, Marky Sports. Happy to be back with you guys. So, what we're going to be discussing today, we're going to be looking at the Broncos are obviously looking towards the future. They're in this rebuild and they are focusing on player development. But there's two guys in specific that I think the Broncos should look at making moves in the present to be able to really set that future success up. And we'll break it down. Before we do that, guys, if you're new to the channel, appreciate you guys joining. Hit that subscribe button. It'll really help me out. If you love Broncos news, if you love Nuggets news, if you love the Avs, and if you love fantasy football, then you are absolutely going to love my channel. So I'll really appreciate it. Give me a shot, man. If you don't like it later, hey, unsubscribe. But hit that subscribe button for me. Like my videos. And most importantly, guys, to be honest with you, hit me up in the comments with feedback, with your thoughts. I love engaging with you guys, and it's always appreciated. And if you have a little bit of time on your hands, show my buddy David Talks Broncos some love. He's got a Broncos and a Buffs channel at David Talks Buffs. He makes great content. He's a great dude. He'd be awesome to follow as well. All right, guys, let's waste no more time and get right into it. So the Broncos are obviously in a rebuild, right? The Broncos have a really quiet offseason. All things considered, they didn't really have a lot of money as they were eating a lot of that Russ contract. And for those of you that know, I'm a huge fan of these moves. I love the fact that we're actually committing to a rebuild. I'm glad that we actually have a head coach that seems like he's committed for that as well, and that he's in it for the long haul. And I'm obviously super excited about the Bo Nix pick. But when you look at the roster as a whole, there's really two guys on this roster that are elite and among the best of the best at their respective positions, right? And that's Patrick Surtain in the second, and that's Quinn Myers, right? Our right guard. Both of them elite. Both of them are absolutely cornerstone pieces that play important roles on this offense. And I would say more so Quinn Miners on this team as a whole. Sorry, and I would say more so Quinn Miners than Patrick Surtain in terms of the importance of position. Some of you guys might think I'm crazy. Let's battle it out. But that's the truth. But right now, after the season, Quinn Miners is an unrestricted free agent. This is the final year of his rookie deal. Patrick Surtain, on the other hand, he's somebody that we brought up, that we drafted obviously in the first round. We picked up his fifth year option last year, and so what that does is it's locked him into the Broncos for the 2025 season at $19.6 million, right? So what that means, and I'll give you all a visual because I'm a visual person. So let's go ahead and break this down. So that means in 2025, Patrick Surtain is going to cost us 19.8. Now, what you have, and you have the ability to start negotiating that contract immediately. You start looking at it right away, and you can do it in one of two different ways. You can either add it on top of the fifth year option, so we can keep the 19.8 million in place, and then you can extend it after that, or you can just scrap the fifth year option and write an entirely new 4 year or 5 year deal, depending on how you want to structure with them. Now, the positives of being able to just re-scrap it as a whole new deal is that the cap figure for 2025 is going to be significantly less than that 19.8. So to free up some cap space next year, should we need it? Now, I know the Broncos are projected to have a lot of cap space next year, even with taking on the remaining of the Russ deal, but this could help even more. And if you actually did it now, you can kind of get creative with it by the way you structure him and versus the way you structure Miners. And really, Miners and Sertan together wouldn't really cost too much against the cap next year. The positives about extending it on top of the fifth year option, obviously, is that you're going to be able to have him for a longer period of time. You can kind of get a majority of what the guaranteed money is going to be a little bit quicker up front. So that now the Miners deal and the Patrick Surtain deal won't be really running in tandem, but you'll kind of be paying them separately. So that kind of balances out the scale from the cap perspective. Anyways, regardless of how that looks, I feel like these are two guys at positions that are extremely important that you should absolutely look into building your entire franchise around. When you break it down with Quinn Miners, we signed Ben Powers last offseason to a big deal as the left guard. We also signed Mike McGlinchey. But after this year, both of their contracts are going to have a lot of flexibility. We can either get out of them, we can extend them. There's a lot of things that we can do to really be able to build out the continuity on this O line, because there could be a situation where if Garrett Bowles plays really well again this year, and they want to keep him for another few years, now you've got 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen on heavy, heavy deals. And that typically doesn't happen, and it doesn't usually work out very well for teams that do that. You kind of have to have that balance. But without a doubt, I think Quinn Miners is somebody that you've got to look at extending. You've got to look at extending him as soon as possible and build that offensive line around him because he brings another level of nastiness. He's durable. He's young. He gives you that identity on the offensive side of the ball. And if that meant, moving on from Ben Powers or moving on from Mike McGlinchey, sign me up. Or if it meant moving on from Garrett Bowles, sign me up. Now, obviously not all of them, but it gives you a little bit of flexibility there. But he should be the focal point of the offensive line. And he's somebody that without a doubt the Broncos should look at extending. And I think they should not wait until next season to do so. I think that they should 100% begin doing that now. Do it in good faith. Get ahead of the market, right? Get ahead of that market curve because Landon Dickerson, the highest paid guard, he's making about $20 million a year. Um, and if you look at the highest paid corners on the other side, they're making about 21 million a year. So the cornerback position and the guard position for the top for the upper echelon of both are actually being paid about the same, which is pretty wild because there used to be a little bit more of a discrepancy just a couple years back. Now, when you look at on Patrick Surtain's side, obviously in this situation, people have heard me. I've said it a lot on this channel. I think cornerback is a luxury position. I don't think it's necessarily a cornerstone position. However, with the way that the roster's constructed, with the way we're clearly building for that future, and we seem to have a lot more continuity now, or a higher chance of having continuity moving forward. You absolutely have to get the Patrick Surtain deal done. Also, there's so many question marks behind him that how would you even fathom a situation where you keep him for his fifth year option and then you end up ultimately getting rid of him? So I'm always a big fan of being proactive, getting ahead of it, and looking at getting these deals done as soon as possible. Now, if you ask me, I think that the Quinn Miners deal has a much higher chance of getting done than the Patrick Surtain deal does, strictly because PS2 has that fifth year option. He's already locked in for 2025, so there might not be as much of um, a rush on that one. Whereas with Quinn Miners, you can get ahead of it and you can get it at a good rate because what you've seen is the guard market is very, very hot in the offseason. Every single year, it seems to go up. So I feel like if you don't do it this year, they might have to pay even more if they wait until after the season is over. When it comes to PS2, you can have a little bit more of a waiting game because of the fifth year option. But because if you look at a lot of the cornerbacks that are set to become free agents in 2025, there's not a lot of elite level ones that might break the market. That could potentially start to happen in 2026 when like Derek Stingley Jr. becomes a free agent. But also with Sauce Gardner, Sauce Gardner's whole deal could affect PS2 as well if the Jets end up extending him. So you're kind of playing. It's going to be a little bit more risky, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be that much more money on him if you wait. But with Quinn Miners, I think it could come back to bite. Plus, you never want to go through those off-season negotiations, and you slap a franchise tag on them, and then it goes back and forth, and ultimately the player ends up being happy. But it's kind of like a pain in the ass. They might not always be the happiest with how things were handled. Um, I think by getting ahead of it, paying your players, not only will is the right thing to do because these two guys in particular deserve it, but I think it sets a really good precedent for the rest of the organization. You know, because there could be a sour taste in a lot of players' mouths. There could be kind of the reputation of the Broncos organization as a whole could have potentially taken a little bit of a hit after we moved on from so many of these players this year. Um, just out of nowhere, right? I mean, we traded Judy, we cut Russ and ate all this money. We didn't really spend a lot of money in free agency. So, being able to lift up that locker room and really reinstate the faith for these players that the organization that I'm playing for is going to reward me. They're going to reward anybody that feels that they deserve it, and they like to invest in their homegrown players. And so by doing that with Quinn Miners and Patrick Surtain, it's a win-win, I think, across the board. Let me know what y'all think. I've been thinking about this one quite a bit. I really do believe Quinn Miners will get done. I think it'll actually probably get done sooner than you think. This could be one of those where it could happen before the season ultimately starts, um, or it could be something that gets maybe done during the year. but it would not surprise me if those negotiations ended up opening up. Pastor 10, I think it's going to be wait and see. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Broncos are going to make any moves? Do you think that they should? If so, who? Should it be both? Should they prioritize one over the other? And let me know why. Hit me up in the comments, guys. Until then, I hope you guys have a great day. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Remember to spend time with the ones that you love the most. A mile high salute to everybody. And as always,